Hello everyone, and welcome back to Deck Tech Tuesday. In this series, I go over a random deck from a random format and try to go over the inner workings of the deck. This week, however, we're not doing just one deck, instead we're going to be going over 5 separate decks instead. Why are we going over 5 different decks as opposed to just one? Well, it all actually stems back from this certain app called Amino. Before I actually get started with the deck tech, I'd just like to say that this video is not sponsored by Amino at all. Rather, I'm just recounting my experiences on the app itself. I'd highly suggest downloading the app and checking it out for yourself. It's a social networking site with subforums that cover specific subjects. It's kind of like Reddit, but it's a bit more in depth and it's a bit more aesthetically pleasing in my opinion. The whole reason why I bring this up is because in this app, I took part in a contest known as the Brewer's Challenge. It involves 60 people who were spread into 6 10-person groups. For each week, we as a group were required to collaboratively brew on a deck of the contest holder's choice. The runners of the contest would go over each submission, rank them how they would see fit, and then assign a point value to each place. Since there are 10 of us in our group, some of us each made brews on our own, and then we voted each week to see which deck of ours was going to be the one that we would submit for the respective round. Over the course of those 6 weeks, my team, Lumpy Bananas, managed to win the entire contest. The team not only had me, in addition to a slew of creative deck designers, but we also had Kevin from Rogue Deckbuilder in our ranks as well. As a token of gratitude from my fellow teammates, I decided to make a video going over each deck that we had submitted into the contest. So our first week's theme was standard. Not only that, but we were required to use a playset of any one Gear Hulk from the Gear Hulk cycle in Kaladesh. The build we submitted was the Lord Camel's Esper deck built around Cataclysmic Gear Hulk. To be honest, this deck is actually pretty sweet. It has a lot going on and it plays a bit deeper than one might think. The goal of the deck is to continuously keep the board clear while trying to get as much value out of it as possible. The way we do that is to play stuff like Prized Amalgam, Haunted Dead, and Relentless Dead. Then we kill them with stuff like Cataclysmic Gear Hulk and stuff like Demon of Dark Schemes, or we sacrifice them to cards like Altars, Reap, and Bone Splinters to gain small advantages over our opponent. The second layer to this deck is the reanimation aspect to it. Sure, we can get stuff in the graveyard and we can get it back out easily, but it just doesn't have what it needs to go over the top. This is where cards like Gissa and Geralf and Demon of Dark Schemes come into the mix, so that way we can rip multiple threats out of our graveyard in a single turn and then try to overwhelm our opponent. In that first round, we got first place and managed to snag 24 out of 30 points for that round, so congrats to Lord Camel for submitting the winning deck. For round 2 of the challenge, we were tasked to build commander decks. However, the stipulation this time was to build a deck focused on the new partner legendary commanders from Commander 2017. For that week, we had voted on my submission. The deck itself is a Simic deck built around Kydel, Chosen of Kruphix, and Thrasios Triton Hero. The main focus was around drawing cards. The reason why was to abuse Kydel's activated ability just to get a bunch of mana as a result of drawing just so many cards. While we could dump that mana into Thrasios' ability to keep getting more cards, we also were able to spend that copious amount of colorless mana on X spells like Genesis Wave, Helix Pinnacle, and Stroke of Genius. In addition, this deck also runs plenty of huge spells to win us the game, like Jin Gitaxias, Ulamog, Vorinclex, Omniscience, and Tooth and Nail. For that week's result, we got second place with a 24.5 out of 30 points, which still left us 20 points ahead of second place. For round 3 of the challenge, we had to build a Pauper deck. Easy enough, right? I mean, I'm definitely no stranger to Pauper deck design, but this week's parameters definitely threw me for a loop. We had to build a deck that was focused around either artifacts or enchantments. As such, we were also restricted from building a deck that was similar to like Affinity, Bogles, or Kadotha Boros. So with that in mind, while I wanted us to submit my totally awesome blue-red infinite combo deck that I'll probably go over later in the next few episodes, the deck that had won the majority vote was 123 ERFG's Mono Black deck focused around the Arcbound mechanic. Now, when I say Arcbound mechanic, I actually mean modular, but I use modular because the modular creatures in our deck are Arcbound creatures. For those that aren't aware, modular is a mechanic that reads, whenever a creature enters the battlefield with a modular ability, they get a number of +1/+1 counters on them. The number of counters it receives are different for each unique creature. However, when that creature dies, we may put that creature's +1/+1 counters onto a target artifact creature. With that in mind, the deck itself plays 12 modular creatures in the form of playsets of Arcbound Worker, Arcbound Stinger, and Arcbound Hybrid. In order to take advantage of utilizing the placement of +1/+1 counters, the deck also played sacrifice outlets in the form of Nantuko Husk, Voracious Knoll, and Devouring Swarm. For that week, we got 4th place with a score of 23 out of 30 points. The end result managed to put us in a tie overall for first place against Team No Name Plays, with each of us having 140 points. So, moving into round 4, we had to build a Frontier deck. The only condition that we had to maneuver around was the fact that the deck needed to be 3 colors. For this round, Kevin from Rogue Deckbuilder's submission was used. Given our in-depth discussion about the deck, I decided to post it on another video. You can find it right here on the screen. If the annotation doesn't work, I'll have the link in the description down below. For the results of round 4, we got first place again, giving us 60 more points and putting us at 200 points altogether. For the final round, the format of choice was Modern, and the stipulation being that we had to brew a deck focused on winning with one of the following cards, that being Biovisionary, Laboratory Maniac, Maze's End, Felidar Sovereign, Azor's Allocutors, Hellkite Tyrant, Darksteel Reactor, Door to Nothingness, Hedron Alignment, Helix Pinnacle, Miles Aria, Mortal Kombat, Battle of Wits, Near Death Experience, and Barren Glory. The deck that was submitted was my Maze's End Turbo Fog list. Seeing as how I went into this deck on my last week's Deck Tech Tuesday, I'll provide a link here and in the description down below for all of you to go ahead and check out. As far as the results are concerned, we won yet again with our submission, giving us 40 more points. In the end, we managed to grab 260 points in total and finished in first place, about 40 points ahead of second place. So again, congratulations to Team Lumpy Bananas for kicking some ass. We couldn't have done this without each other, and I'm really glad I was able to share this experience with all of you. And that's the Deck Tech, or Deck Techs I should say, for this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it. Put a comment down in the comment section down below and tell me which of these 5 decks that you like the most. I'm Tasty Snackies, you all have been wonderful, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.